All right, people can hear us. Sounds Sean saying Mike is good. Someone from Delaware is saying hello. Hello. Um, all right. All right, I think everything is working. I found to do something like this. So I can promote teleportme.com just like that. Because a lot of people keep complaining that I don't talk much about TeliportMe on this on the live stream. So just wanted to tell you guys what TeliportMe does. We are a virtual tour software. Just kind of like 3D Vista, Kula, and the others. We mostly focus on high resolution and kind of speed. That's kind of where we put our butter on the bread, kind of what you would say. We've been doing this for about 10 years, and we hope to do it for another 10 years. And this interview series is kind of a way to connect with some of our customers and users, and also work with some experts to bring knowledge to everybody in the groups. And today, we are going to learn a little bit about sales. We have done a lot of interviews about 360 cameras. We have talked to VR folks, but I think a lot of people in the groups, in our email lists, are mostly focused on making virtual tours or creating virtual tours. So I think the best part is to start talking about how to make sales. And there is a certain person, Tomas Dunbar, who is a good friend of mine. We connected on the groups itself, and I've been blessed, I would say, to have some access to his course material, which is really, really good. Teaches you how to do sales and is really focused towards virtual tours. He's done a lot of sales himself, as he was a virtual tour professional before. And I think that his insight, because I'm not sure how many students he has, but he runs about a 9-week course where he teaches people how to generate leads and create more of a pipeline, so that you go from taking a one-off customer to having a real successful business. And he started this a year back, and honestly, he's done so well for himself selling the course that I think that he knows what he's talking about selling. So without further ado, I'm going to invite in Thomas. And for everybody that's listening, if you have any questions, feel free to start putting them in the chat, because we'll get to them as quickly as possible. And I can see people from Montreal. Someone's asking me if this would be recorded. Yes, it will be recorded. It will be posted both on the Facebook page, the TeliportMe Virtual Tours Facebook page, as well as our TeliportMe YouTube channel. So, all right, so let's call Tomas in.
Hey, Vineet. Thanks very much for having me here today.
Hey, good, man. Nice to have you too. This has been our most wanted talk, in terms of people expressing interest to listen. So I don't know if it is mostly people from your group, but kind of pumping up the numbers, kind of Bitcoin style, or is it actual people wanting to learn? So I just wanted to start off, Tomas, with just giving people a very, very quick background about how you got into virtual tours and how you decided to teach people the sales strategies that you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I first got introduced to virtual tours back in 2015. I was actually the head of marketing for the Remax franchise in Ireland at the time. Remax is the largest real estate franchise worldwide, but that's not the case in Ireland. They're a very small operation in Ireland, 13 or 14 offices. So I was working with these offices on a day-to-day basis. And then I was at a trade show in Vegas, and Matterport was just released a couple of months previously, and I saw an opportunity to have an option that I could sell to offices that I worked with on a daily basis. But that was my first hard lesson, that real estate is not that easy to sell to, even if you have a lot of friends in the industry. But I was at that for about 2 years, and then actually I quit my job to go say full time at it. And actually, my company merged with a software company. An offer came along a couple of weeks later, like all good opportunities. And then we kind of focused on the higher value kind of side of the virtual tour industry at that stage. More so about building solutions around what we had to offer and kind of taking it out of the bubble of a photography service. And it was funny. That's what really kind of started me on Dispatch. But my plan was always to actually travel the world. And when I ended up merging with another company, that was put on hold for about 2 years. But finally, I did that, and after a year of having a marketing agency that I was running on the road, I suppose my itch to get back involved in this industry was there. And at the time, there was nothing in terms of training for virtual tour businesses. And it was funny, I was building out my course and the content and had the group up and running. And then I know Ben and Zach ended up releasing the courses just before mine. So it's funny, I had the idea for probably 6 months before they did. But that's the problem with being first to market, I suppose, that if you want to be first, you need to be first and get a bit of an itch on it.
Yeah.
So we've worked with, so it was actually yesterday was our 1 year anniversary since since the official launch. I launched it when I was in Poland just as COVID was hitting and having to come home. Since then.
I remember you were in a van, right? You were traveling in a van somewhere.
Yeah, we lived in I lived in a van for a converted high-ace minibus. We converted it to a camper van in New Zealand. So I was actually running a marketing business from that for about 6 months, and that was focused more so around say the website development side and sales funnels. So we had about 100 clients within about, we did that about for about 6 to about 9 months. And it was lower end projects for smaller business owners, but taught me a lot about working in a van. Was very challenging and rewarding, because I used to rise with the sun and try and finish work by lunchtime every day, because it wasn't the end goal. It was more so to keep us on the road and not have to work.
I remember I used to send you messages and you would reply after like 3 days, and you'd be like, "Oh, I was on the road. I didn't have internet."
Yeah. That's the beauty of New Zealand. You can go down a dirt road in New Zealand and you'd be 3 days without signal, without Wi-Fi. So I suppose it was actually very helpful, because before that, I would say I was a very unorganized person, but that forced me to be very organized to ensure that I was still able to actually run a business and keep clients happy at the same time. Because you know yourself, I suppose, if you don't respond to a client for 3 days, everything's busy.
Yeah. So did you actually do any 360 photography while you were traveling, or are you a strictly professional 360 photographer / virtual tour salesperson?
What do you mean, sorry? In terms of when we were traveling in the van?
Did you just take like panoramas while you were traveling, or were you?
No. So I suppose while I was still traveling, I was still acting as a consultant on some of the projects that we were doing, specifically in the industrial sector and with hotel groups. Mostly around kind of Ireland and the UK, and some in Europe. So I was still involved on some level with my previous business, but it wasn't something that I was going to be. I was actually, it was funny, like when I left, we wanted to go traveling, but I was supposed to return in 6 months and return to that role. But anybody who's traveled, I'd say I didn't do any traveling before. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Things changed pretty quickly, and I got very accustomed to that way of life. And working from co-working spaces became my life, and worked in about 20 co-working spaces, I think, in about an 18-month period. And it was hard to go back to real life after that.
Got it. All right, so let's get into the shit, right? Let's get into some how to make money, how to create pipelines and sales strategies. I mean, so for anybody that's listening, Tomas has been really very good about helping everybody out, and he has I think he has compiled 10 videos or 10 lessons.
About 30, I think.
Sorry?
I think there's about 25, I think, in it.
25. Oh wow, 25 videos about sales and other things. I looked at it. There's a lot of videos, and he's providing it for free for everybody. And so I'm gonna try this. I hope it works. So if you go to this link, FAQs. Now don't ask me why it's FAQs at teleportme.com. It was just the only one that I had connected to my subdomain. So it's faqs.teleportme.com /webinars, and it will you'll get I'll send you once you register there, I'll send you the link that you can directly go to Tomas's website and get access to the free lessons that he's giving out, which I think are pretty good. I've done his course, or not done, but gone through his video tutorials a couple of months back, and I think it's really, really solid in terms of depth of content. So Tomas, how do you say? I would say Tomas is very Spanish, because I'm saying it in a very Spanish tone, but how would you say it?
Tomas. It's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
Thomas in Irish, basically. So
Got
yeah,
it.
all my siblings have Irish name. My mother is an Irish teacher. She teaches the Irish language, so we all have Irish names, but nobody can pronounce them. So Thomas is what I tell people outside of Ireland is my name because it's just easier.
Yeah. Pavel, the link is on the screen. It says that's where the link is. So just go to that link. And if it's not working, let me know. I mean, I just connected it like 20 minutes back. So let's start off with a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you. One is the mindset of sales, right? I think one of the most important part about selling is understanding who you're selling to. Uh, how do you kind of figure out who your customer is going to be, depending on obviously location? It can be everybody is not your customer. So if you can just walk everybody through identifying a customer profile and then figuring out kind of what is the message that needs to go to them. And then obviously the next part we're going to go more deep into
Yeah.
is kind of LinkedIn and other, like, I think LinkedIn is the only thing that we're going to go into today, is how to use LinkedIn as a very effective sales tool. But the first part really is understanding who your customer is and kind of getting into the mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose one of the great things about being a virtual tour provider is that we're lucky in that there's customers everywhere. Like, it virtually touches every industry in some form or fashion, and the use cases are growing by the day because of COVID. Like, it's an unfortunate thing that's happened to the world, but it's been a very fortunate thing that's happened for virtual tour providers because it means that there's more opportunities available out there. And when it comes to the virtual tour services as a whole and identifying what route you want to go down, there's one example that I always use, and it was through experience that is kind of the best way I think to put it, was that in the early days, we're like everybody else. When we were one of the first to market in Ireland and the UK, and our approach was very kind of, I suppose, central to everybody. We had a message that we could send out to a real estate agent, a hotel, say a retirement community, a bar, restaurant. We provide virtual tour services, and that was it. There wasn't really anything else that needed to be added on top of that because there wasn't a lot of competition. But as competition grows, you need to be more specific in your approach, and more specific in your approach really means, I suppose, what message you need to have for each individual person you're approaching. So when these example that I would use is probably one of our biggest industries would have been, say, hotels and hotel groups. And we found out pretty quickly that it was a very ineffective approach going after the sales and marketing person, because they were the person who were getting approached day in, day out. And then when we really dived into it and we really started working with some hotels that we did get into, we found out, I suppose, what roles within those organizations people had the most uses for that. And as a matter of fact, if somebody within an organization can use, say, the virtual tours in a capacity that actually enables their job, makes it easier for them, it's going to be a lot more use to them than something that's sitting on a website. And what we completely switched our approach from going after, say, sales and marketing directors to, say, event coordinators or wedding planners, because they were the people who actually needed it on a more say personal level, as a communication tool, as something that made their life a little bit easier. If you break that down into other industries then as well, it's really, your message needs to be more focused towards the business itself and the people in that business, because each business, if you're talking to two different real estate companies, one could have the lion's share of the market, the other one could be struggling and only have 1 or 2%. So your message to both of those people should be different. The same way your message to, say, a new real estate agent should be different than somebody who's established. They have different purposes. The new real estate agent is trying to win listings. They're trying to actually get commissions. The one that's, I suppose, at the top of their game, time could be their biggest issue, and cutting out, I suppose, time wasters and using it as a time-saving solution. So really the message comes down to the person you're targeting, and that's probably the first step in that, is knowing exactly who you're talking to, and not having, I suppose, a messaging campaign ready for each one of those roles and the people within those roles.
Got it. So let's take out real estate from the equation. Let's consider real estate a really difficult market, but another probably a big enough market is kind of car sales showroom. I mean, these cars showroom. Would you say that would be one of the top categories outside the obvious real estate and real estate and kind of hotels and restaurants? Would you say that's kind of a more approachable
Yeah,
market?
it's I suppose all dealers are not an easy approach either, and again,
They're
because
not.
sometimes you're dealing with cars, you're dealing with salespeople as well. Like, and salespeople are very much nitty gritty, return on investment. Why are we spending this money on this? And you need to have a good answer for that. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been. We would have actually, purely because of, I suppose, the business I was with, we would have had access to one of the biggest dealerships in Ireland, and we did a lot of, I suppose, work around that in terms of, I suppose, the best way to approach that. And one, I suppose, conclusion we came to was that we were using Matterport at the time, that Matterport wasn't the tool for that. And since then, there has been, we did a discussion in our group a couple of months back with a guy that was doing a GM dealership, and he was doing a couple of hundred cars every month for that dealership. And their biggest thing was, I suppose, getting the cars off their lot, basically. That every day that car spent on their lot, it was costing them money, and the quicker turnaround time that they could get on that stock was better. So an important thing that I suppose that we found out as well is that when a lot of the new, I suppose, for new vehicles, a lot of the branding and the marketing materials that they use comes from the car manufacturers themselves. So where the real value is for used vehicles. That's what they have to create the marketing materials for, is for used vehicles, not for the new ones, because a lot of times they have to use exactly what they're given for that. But for the new vehicles, I suppose really it comes down to what they're currently, I suppose, paying for, or what kind of process they currently have in place to actually create marketing material for each new used vehicle that comes into their lot. And if you can provide, I suppose, a more beneficial solution in terms of more comprehensive marketing material and professional, but also if you have, I suppose, a good understanding of how that's going to be used within their sales process, within their communication process, within, say, their sales strategies. And that's what it comes down to a lot of time. And that's why, I suppose, that's why I always say is if you can, talk to people who have kind of traveled that path or done it before. I know a good guy for the auto industry is Chris Wozepka, I think. He actually has he actually gave us a free training. I can maybe put it in the chat afterwards, on the way he actually scans dealerships, and the way that his was all about kind of a high turnover though, and his actually process was very unique because he actually rented a warehouse opposite a couple of dealerships, and what he'd do was he'd take cars off the lot, maybe 20 cars a day, probably not 20, but maybe 10 cars a day, bring them into, I suppose, a showroom environment that he had built in a warehouse, and he'd scan that car and put it back on the lot. And that's how he was able to do it. But his was very much based on high turnover.
That's interesting. That's okay. So let's dive into the LinkedIn stuff, right? Let's dive into you are a virtual tour photographer. You're trying to target what kind of businesses would you target on LinkedIn? Like, what kind of potential customers would you target on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can target virtually every industry to some extent. Like there is some industries where you won't find people from an organization on it, like, and that's it. But like in all the common ones that I suppose most virtual tour providers go after, like, people are very accessible in that. But more so, LinkedIn is a very good tool because people are more likely to read it than email. Email has very low, I suppose, open rates. There is some cases where it can be successful, and it's not saying that it shouldn't be part of your strategy. But LinkedIn is something where you can be guaranteed that you're going to get a certain percentage will read it, and a certain percentage will connect with you and engage with what you have. And so over the last, since I suppose my business has pivoted about 4 months ago, and we very much kind of turned to nearly an agency model in that we're very much helping people set up these automated systems with the goal of actually creating and generating leads and conversations. And we've actually been doing a lot of work over even the past couple of weeks, even yesterday, with a couple of companies where we've been using, say, a couple of automation tools. I've actually included a list of that within the say the mini course that people have access to after. But the likes of, say, Octopus CRM and WeConnect are things that we use to kind of set up automated sales funnels within those. And that's great because, first of all, you can combine exactly what I was talking about previously, which was having direct messages and specific messages for people in specific roles. Then what you can do is, I suppose, LinkedIn is brilliant for searching, even without having premium features. You can actually find a list of prospects that suit that role, plug that list of prospects into, say, an automated funnel, and then you can simply just tap into that. So the brilliant thing about when suppose one of the common things that happens when businesses come to us is one of the biggest things that tell us is that we want to bring on a salesperson. We want you to be able to train them, and we want them to take over this. And what we always tell them is that, look, set up an automated system. A machine will do a better job than, say, a human at the because it's more.
I mean, so I'm gonna do a little bit of pushback here. I mean, I think you're right about automation and funnels, and everybody knows of these things. But I think the real question is how to craft a message that resonates, right? I think there are a couple of, the best sales copy or the best marketing copy is basically finding out what your customer may need and putting that in a very, very precise manner. So I think if you can elaborate a little bit more on, like, you can pick the industry that you want to pick, right? I don't know if you have scripts. I know you have scripts, and they are part of your course. But I think you have added that also to the free lessons. Right. So what I would think would be very interesting for some of the listeners is, how do you think of coming up with a script? Because a lot of people live in different countries, different places. Your mentality of how you approach a customer is very different. Like, me doing business in the US is very different than me doing business in Luxembourg, or me doing business here. Now I'm in Macedonia, doing Macedonia. It's very different. The mentalities are different. And while you cannot say what the mentality should be, can you elaborate more on how to think about thinking of the mentality, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, suppose before we even get to the stage of creating a script, I think a big thing that people miss out on is that everybody, like, we have to slow people down when we start working with them. They want to jump on working with us, and then they want to go to their sales instantly. And we say it's not going to work if that's what you do. Like, first of all, like, one thing that's common to everybody across the world, across every single continent, is that people are influenced by results, case studies, and other people's opinions of your business. And that is the first step. Is like, what we usually do is that we help people put the foundations in place to actually present them as an expert that doesn't look like every other virtual tour company, but more importantly, it doesn't look like a photography company. We want them to look like a company that has a specialized solution for a specific industry. And that comes down to two things. It comes down to how we can kind of, I suppose, create digital assets that can be used within the scripts. And they are, say, landing pages, even case studies, and how to combine those with the scripts, but also combine that on LinkedIn. It's very important to have a good mix of, say, an inbound and an outbound strategy. So one of the biggest things that people are missing is, a lot of times, is that they might set up an automated system, but they don't have a good inbound strategy in place. They have their outbound strategy in place where they're reaching out to contacts, they're moving them through the sales process, but they don't have anything in place to actually for those kind of contacts to come to them. So especially on LinkedIn, like, it's quite easy to get up a posting schedule, like 2 or 3 posts a week, and they can actually pay massive results, because it means that you'll have probably a couple of more extra leads trickling in every month, leads that wouldn't come to you if they didn't see exactly what you were doing on their own terms, not on your terms when you're trying to reach out to them, but on their terms when they're actually engaging and looking at your content and going a step further than that. So when it comes to the script itself, it doesn't have to be as nitty. We don't have to get into the nitty gritties as compared to email, because email, first of all, it's all about deliverability, whereas LinkedIn, they guarantee you that, like, it's going to land in your messages or your connections. They're going to get your connection request. It's all about, I suppose, the only difference between, say, email and LinkedIn is meant to be more conversational. So when it comes to the likes of, so I suppose it's funny, like, when we looked into automation on LinkedIn probably about 4 years ago now, like, and we tested 1 or 2 things, and they were probably $400 or $500 a month. It wasn't really a thing. Now all the LinkedIn automation tools that we're using and helping people set up, you can get them for as low as about $30 a month, and up to, and I think WeConnect is $50 a month, and Octopus CRM is about $30 a month, I think, is all it is.
We have somebody's talking about Scrap. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I don't know the name of the person because it's not showing up, but they say Scrap is an absolutely amazing Chrome plugin for LinkedIn. I don't know. I've not used this product, but that something?
Yeah, we've actually used something. We've actually used a couple of things similar to that. So I suppose I know a couple of other similar ones that are used for you can generate an email list for, say, cold email for that, but it's more so to take details from LinkedIn, which can be very beneficial, because that's probably an important thing to note, is that when it comes to cold outreach, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's, say, email marketing, I suppose the way your list is structured and the information that you have to begin with is very important, because if, for example, like if you have, say, a personalized email, will get, say, much higher open rates and much higher click-through rates than an email that is not personalized. And that comes down to, I suppose, simply just having, say, name, their business, their position, but also, say, their location and also their website, because that gives you a bit more, I suppose, ammunition in terms of, I suppose, being able to put in those variables into that. The same goes on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, for example, when we're setting up automated campaigns, you can say just, hi, for example, I see that your profile was at the top of the search results for, say, real estate agents in, say, Chicago. We're interested in getting in contact with somebody in, say, and then the company is slotted in there, and then a brief overview of what you do, and that's the connection request, for example. So. Okay. But the added level of personalization, I suppose, that these systems now have built in means that you can send out a couple of hundred messages a week that will seem like it's handwritten, and that's the way you want it to appear. If anybody notices that you're not getting kind of a personal note, you're going to be less reluctant to do that, and it's very easy to spot a generic message when it comes through, and that's one of the biggest pluses of, I suppose, how advanced, I suppose, the LinkedIn automation and email automation has got over the past while, for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I'm going to push back here so that we can get a lot of value for whoever is listening. So I think everybody understands that personalized emails have better conversions. Mm-hmm. And I think most people here have probably tried some kind of email funnel thing. And if you have not, that's probably the first thing that you would have to. So if anyone has tried email funnels, definitely leave some comments on how they've structured it. But I think most people have used some kind of landing page, email system. Where do you think these kind of systems kind of break down? So obviously, the one part that it would break down really is that the emails are not relevant enough. They're not targeted enough. And how much of automation do you think is necessary, right? Because let's say you're a small agency, and I think most people in the groups are kind of small agencies, maybe 5 people at best. So how do you manage that? Because if you're a 5-person agency, you don't necessarily need to do too much automation. You could probably maybe keep it as small as possible, and maybe manually reach out, use phone calls, go to local events, so on and so forth, and get your customers, and probably maybe more relevant. But these kind of email automation, LinkedIn automation, I think is for maybe larger agencies, and maybe for, I don't know, having a pipeline of maybe 100, 200 people. Can you bring it down a little bit where it's a team of maybe 1 to 5 people, and what kind of strategies can they use? Because I think LinkedIn may make a lot of sense for a larger agency, but do you think it makes sense for a one-man show, or a 3-man show, or a 5-man show? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it probably makes more sense, because a lot of times when we're all small businesses here, is that we might not have the resources to bring on a sales professional. We might be doing, if you have even 3 or 4 shoots a week, you're quite busy. And I suppose a lot of times the breakdown comes in the follow-up. But I suppose the beauty of these automated systems is that it automatically does the follow-up for you. So I suppose the important thing to remember is there's a difference between, I suppose, when somebody's actually on your list, when they're actually, say, a subscriber or a fan of what you have to offer, and they put their hand up and say they want to find out more, than the likes of, say, cold email and, say, cold LinkedIn messages, because the whole purpose of those is to try and bring those into the fold and get them to engage with you in the first place. So with that, I suppose, especially with the likes of, say, a cold email and cold email automation and LinkedIn automation, those systems are set up for you to jump on once there's engagement. So you can once so unlike, say, email marketing, where somebody's already a subscriber, they're going to be getting your messages, say, emails every week or every month. I suppose the other system is set up is that you can, I suppose, effectively target and reach out to people once you have your correct offer and message in place, and then you can jump into the conversation once you get a response. So I know from my experience, when, like, we've taken on, I suppose, 2 salespeople this year, but we were running it all ourselves in house with automated systems up to that. But we understood then when it got to a certain stage that we needed the personal touch. So I'd actually argue that the personal touch comes after the initial touch, because at the beginning, I suppose, you need to, a business doesn't run if money's not coming in, and
Right.
that personal touch has definitely, I suppose, increased our business and done a lot of value for us over the past couple of months. But we only brought on people when we actually needed to bring on people, and we tried to automate things before that. And
So you're saying that the first step needs to be as automated as possible, but the second step or the third step should be more kind of personal, or maybe a video call.
Yeah, because as you get busier, and as you get busier, and if your automated systems are working, and if there's consistent leads coming in, that also becomes an issue. So our biggest issue was that we had a big list of, I know we're on kind of the other end of the spectrum now, but it's still relevant. Our biggest issue was that we had too many leads and not enough time to follow up with those leads. A great complaint to have, but it was an issue. So we actually had to, so what we actually ended up doing was we took about a couple of weeks and we actually built a system that we could just plug a salesperson into, and they could follow our exact process up to then, know exactly what to say in certain circumstances, but also that they can be able to manage, I suppose, different clients depending on, I suppose, their criteria. So we had a very predefined sales funnel and also, I suppose, kind of nearly educational material in terms of how to handle a client at each stage of that funnel, so we could sell without being the ones that were selling. And that is a hard step for businesses to kind of bridge that gap, and it is one that took us a bit of a while to understand, but now we're kind of helping other businesses do that same as well.
Got it. So now I'm thinking of it as like a funnel. So let's talk about some kind of like basic funnel, right? Mm-hmm. So a basic funnel would be a personalized message with a link, and the link is a landing page to the service. So it would be whatever, 360 virtual tours for Montreal.com.
Yeah.
And when a person clicks from that email or LinkedIn message to that page, ideally, what would you want to be there on that page? Like, how much information should be there? Should it be a short landing page? Should it be a long, more informational landing page? How do you qualify the lead once the person has clicked on that link?
Yeah, good question. And I suppose, first of all, like every landing page, you want to have some sort of call to action. But even before that, as you said, like, the content has to be relevant. And that comes down to really kind of understanding your market and understanding the different niches within each industry. Because the more kind of hyper-focused you are towards a specific, I suppose, person in an industry, the better results you're going to get. Because as I said before, like, if you have a message for, say, like a real estate company, or say that's not part of a franchise, for example, a message, you could have a specific offer for them. It could be the very same service you're presenting, but if it's presented and highlighted in a way that it's crafted for their business, it's going to get better responses. The same way as if you're approaching, say a real estate company part of a franchise, that should be a different approach as well, because they might have different circumstances. And I know from working in Remax is that they get a lot of their marketing in-house, so you need to be able to have an understanding of those things.
Are you saying you need to have different landing pages for every specific?
Yeah. Our clients have access to about 150 different landing pages as of now, and that means that we could have 5 different sales funnels, or automated sales funnels running to real estate market, going to 5 different landing pages depending on the business, what criteria they meet. Also as well, we have different ones for case studies, examples. Again, one virtual tour example might be very relevant to one customer, but it mightn't be to another customer, and that's an important thing to be able to understand as well. I suppose what kind of criteria they fall under, especially in even the hotel industry, for example. You don't want to be showing a 3-star hotel to a 5-star hotel, and
yeah.
And you don't want to have to change around all these landing pages every time you want to start a new funnel. It's if you, I suppose, get those foundations in place and understand the offer, your messaging, and I suppose what you want them to see, it's going to yield better response rates and better conversion rates. And that's kind of the overall goal of this. You want to get better results than you have before and be able to kind of put some sort of, I suppose, a figure on those.
Right, got it. So I think what I'm hearing is, I mean, 150 is a lot, but obviously you guys provide that, but maybe start with five, maybe
Yeah,
hotels, restaurants, real estate. I don't know, like
yeah.
what else can you think of? Give us like top five in your opinion.
Top five. Well, I suppose what we always say to people when they're going is that focus on the industries that'll give you the quick sales, like say real estate, any smaller local business, bar, restaurant, retail, and then another, I suppose, hospitality falls into that category as well, as it is a sales and marketing solution that you're producing, and they're probably the, I suppose, the most common ones because there's a level of understanding in those industries as well. As you move up the food chain a little bit more in terms of, I suppose, the AEC and the industrial, it becomes a bit more technical and a bit more. But especially those ones, I suppose, anybody can get up and running and approach those ones in a pretty quick way and in a pretty fast fashion.
Awesome. So a couple of questions. I think one person is asking if this interview is going to be recorded. Yes, it is going to be recorded. I think it after the event, it shows up on the event page. But if it doesn't, an edited version will be on our YouTube channel. So you can go to youtube.com/teleportme, and it's going to be there. We had somebody talk about cloth brands. He said that clothes brands are a good niche. So I think what he or she means is maybe like clothes stores, I think. I'm not sure.
Clothes stores, yeah.
I think that's what I think it is. A lot of people think stores are a good business. I don't know. I mean, as a customer, I don't know if I would want a 360 virtual tour of a furniture showroom or like showrooms. But have you seen any good conversions on showrooms, etc.?
Yeah, I suppose I know one guy in our group who I suppose talk to quite regularly. He does a lot of work with furniture showrooms and funeral homes. They are his two biggest needs. Yeah, furniture showrooms and funeral homes. They're two of his biggest niche. His two biggest niches.
What does a funeral home need? Like that's a virtual tour.
I'm not 100% sure, but I suppose he'd probably tell you it's not a niche market that I would have worked in, but they have the virtual tour front and central on their website, and it is a way, I suppose, for people to be able to maybe familiarize themselves with it. I'm not too sure. It wouldn't have been one that, but I just know that's
I actually had a customer. I don't know if they actually ended up doing it. I need to follow up. But we have a customer who bought our product to do the virtual tour of a very famous graveyard, because his thought was that people who want to see, because of COVID you couldn't go. You couldn't go to the graveyard to kind of like pay your not dues, but I don't know, pay your respect to somebody. So what he wanted to do was create like a virtual tour of the graveyard and have like high resolution photos of the graves, so people can. I did not follow up, but it just he bought the software and he was like, this is an idea, because apparently there's a really famous, like very very old graveyard in his village, and people usually come down every year to pay homage to their ancestors. And he said that because of COVID they can't travel, so this would be. So yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a customer everywhere for virtual tours.
Yeah, absolutely. And also in terms of the furniture stores you mentioned, I think for bigger products where being able to see it in a space, it can be very beneficial. But for the likes of clothing stores and all, the virtual tour itself, I don't think it's going to be as big of a sales tool, but more so I suppose the Google Maps is the bigger part of that, Google Virtual Tour, because it's very much a key part of a Google My Business strategy. And that's where, when it comes to smaller local businesses, like really the only approach that's going to get them, I suppose serve them long term will be a Google Virtual Tour. There is some instances where a custom virtual tour can be used for interactivity and draw attention, maybe for PR, but especially for their business and giving them leads, which should be the overall goal of providing virtual tour service as a sales and marketing solution, is to better their business and get them customers. The Google My Business is probably the first route, and it's definitely a thing that I suppose a lot of people don't really focus on when they have the capabilities. A lot of the platforms allow you to publish directly to Google My Business, and it's definitely an underutilized area from what I've seen anyway.
Okay. Well, so before we move forward, Thomas,
Whatever
God,
you want.
I need to stop saying it like that. I say because I have a very good friend, Tomas. So
Yeah,
that's the Spanish way of
that's
saying it.
that's how most people say it. Yeah,
Oh, that's how most people say it.
yeah,
Okay. So if anybody has any questions specifically, you can also specifically talk about your area and what your current sales pipeline is. Just start putting it on the comments. Sometimes the software picks up the comments, sometimes it doesn't. There's nothing much I can do about it. But if it does pick up, we will be happy to answer all your questions. So moving on, I think. Do you, I know I asked you to have a look, but do you have something on that you can show people, either
yeah.
in terms of your automation or your platform or whatever it is, so that they can kind of look at it and understand what a good sales pipeline should look like?
Let me see. So I haven't prepared anything here. Will I show the will I share the screen and show them the
Yeah, you can do that. I think you have access to share your screen.
Okay.
There you go. One second. Let me bring it up. There you go.
Okay, so this is what I suppose people can get access to afterwards, and this covers a lot of that. So within this, I suppose there's a big thing I suppose that we found that seems to be very popular was we built out, say, I suppose even breaking it down a step further, it was like an onboarding process for virtual tours to actually onboard their own clients, to be able to move them along the sales pipeline and just understand what steps are involved in terms of actually delivering a virtual tour service. And that's before the shoot, during the shoot, and after the shoot. What are some of the most successful virtual tour businesses doing in terms of how they're actually handling the customers, the sales process? And that's not even before, it's after you've even customers agreed and signed a contract. What are the next steps in that? So we actually have, I suppose, this video, and there's also a template actually within this that people can actually have a look through if they want. And the template is actually included here, so you can actually build out your own kind of, I suppose, customer onboarding process. And with that, I think the template is there. But I suppose some of the tools that I've talked about previously are in this automation tools guide here for email and LinkedIn. So one thing
Can
that
I try something is do you think you can just maybe like quickly just do one example?
yeah, so let's go into, say, the LinkedIn. Maybe let's go into this and we'll have a look.
Well, you can use me as a customer. Go to like my LinkedIn profile and just like kind of just if you have it. I mean, if you don't, that's okay. But
I think so on. Let me see. So with LinkedIn actually. So
and just to reference this to everybody, I did not tell Thomas about this. So if it looks like he's not prepared, it's because I'm just asking him, and he's nice enough to do a unprepared live demo, which
doesn't
is
seem to be working. Typical.
which is the worst possible thing you can do.
Hopefully the page loads and it'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, Pavel has viewed your profile. Pavel, stop stalking people, man. Pavel is
Okay, so let's go for search. Let's go for say menus, for example. And let me show you how this, I suppose, takes data from LinkedIn and moves it over. That's probably the easiest way to show you. And then we can plug that in. Okay. So let's just put a filter on here. And let's say put in, say United Kingdom. Let's say show results. So we probably break it down a bit further and probably do it by role and pick, say, wedding coordinators, for example. You would say real estate professional.
Premium, right? Like if you have premium, you have better, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I had premium for the past, say, for probably the past 2 years, and With this tool we started using recently, Octopus CRM, you don't even need premium, to be honest, because Octopus CRM is a little bit different in terms of that you have to kind of manually automate some of the sales funnels. The other one that we used was WeConnect. That's a cloud-based system where you don't have to do that. But what Octopus CRM does is basically, see this, we'll say wedding photographers, for example. Let's say, so basically this captures all of these, say 8,200 results. So what I'll say is feed over 100 profiles to send to my CRM, basically. What this is send this to the CRM. Once this is in the CRM, we can start to set up an automated sales funnel and add in our scripts to that, and add in a bit of personal automation to it. So I just click on CRM here now, and this will open up Octopus CRM. So in the meantime, what we can do is, so well done, 100 out of 100 profiles have been transferred to this. So, okay, so what we do then is that we can start to set up, say, our campaigns. So first of all, when it comes to, say, LinkedIn automation especially, there's a couple of things that you want to be able to do. So first of all, you want to have a connection campaign. You want to see how many of these you want to connect with. So with LinkedIn, I suppose, LinkedIn they have been very against automation for a number of years, but a lot of the newer automation systems, they're very well created in terms of that. They have built-in triggers that will alert you when you are sending too many requests, when you're sending too many messages. And some of them can even, I suppose, limit that, and they'll stagger it throughout the day. They'll give it a rest for 8 hours, and then they'll start the system again, just so it's not triggered and it seems like it's not an automation system, because a lot of these systems, they don't like automation. And it's funny, when I started this business, we were banned on Facebook for about 2 or 3 months because.
But one question also is like, how safe is it? How safe is it to do this? Because I know that LinkedIn is, like you said, very touchy about these kind of tools, and they usually will ban accounts that are kind of doing automation. Like, do you have it? Okay.
This has. So the ones that we recommend, Octopus and WeConnect, they have built-in safety triggers, basically. So they will stop your campaigns if there's a risk of it being flagged. And usually what they'll do is they'll stagger out the messages. But we don't recommend sending too many connections or messages a day, like especially when starting out, is just send a small few. So let's go back over to here now, and let's go over to, say, the scripts in, say, let me see this.
I hope people can see it. So if you cannot see it, just let us know on the messages.
So say connection messages, for example. So there's a couple of things that you can do. It's really up to yourself. Like within the connection message, you want to be kind of, you don't want to be that spammy person who's just saying we want to connect, and then you start pitching them. Like, it's better, I suppose, in my experience, I find it's always better to be upfront and honest in terms of what you're providing. Say you're a virtual tour provider. Say you provide, say, virtual experience solutions for this industry. If they connect, you know you're onto a bit of a winner then, or that they have a genuine interest. And you don't want to be the person who is, say, connecting to say 70 out of 100 profiles, but you're just saying, hey, I just saw your business, looks really interesting, let's link up. Like, you don't want to be that kind of person, because that's ultimately probably going to hurt your business in the long run. So that's just what we do.
You want to be very direct. You want to say, so I'm looking at your, okay, yeah, go for it, go ahead.
So yeah, so there's a number of ones you can do. Like, usually what ones I like to do is say, so with this you can put in, say, so hey, first name. So this would be, say, hey, Scotty, your profile is top of the search results in your industry. We'd love to connect more and learn more about what you do at, say company. We provide virtual tours to advance, say, business objectives, for example, it's Moss. So also what you can do is say, hey, we're looking to reach out and connect with, say, people in, say, position. So this will put in their position in there. So there's a number of different routes. But with LinkedIn automation, with email automation, you need to A/B test things. Like, you need to take, say, 50 leads at a time and try a different connection message. And if you think you have the right results, test it again, because again, you want to see exactly what works. You don't want to just be throwing stuff at a wall and see what sticks, and that is very important. So for this example, say, once they connected, what we can do is we can link that to, say, a messaging campaign. So basically what it is that for everybody, say, that I've sent this, and for the people who've responded to me, we skip this. For the people who haven't responded to me, they get the next message into automation. And this will be something along the lines of this. So we have one, say, for examples for
that's a lot of scripts.
Yes, this is so what we've done here is people have access to this. There's a 4-message sequence for for, say, we just did ones for, say, the industrial, so like manufacturing, say, industrial plants. We did one for, say, wedding venues, and we did one for, say, real estate venues, to give people an idea of what way to structure it. So then we'll go back here. So again, we paste the message in here. We just replace this with, say, the first name. And thanks for connecting. Say, boom, boom, boom. So then say, check out a recent project we did for, say, a wedding venue client. Link to the landing page. So this is where it comes, where digital assets and I suppose the foundations that you've put in place stand out. So again, we might connect with, say, more luxurious, say, venues in one campaign, and we'd have a specific wedding venue with that for, say, luxury venues. Then we might have another one for, say, general kind of wedding venues. So it really depends on that. So really, I suppose you want to have kind of call to action then in terms of, suppose, if you're interested in a 15-minute demo, let us know. We can set that up for you. So that'll be, say, the second one. So then we can say, create a new campaign. Say, let me see, weddings, message 2, for example. Then what we do is put in another message in this. So the important thing to know is that, say, from this 100 leads that we've added in, say, if we get, say, 30 responses out of that, say, that's 30 conversations that are engaged in, or 30 people that we've, say, so maybe we'll say, I suppose, break it down a bit further. Out of the 100 requests that we've sent, say 60 people connect with us. Then what they do is those 60 people get message one basically. So then out of those 60 messages sent out, say maybe we get 20 responses. The other 40 people will get message 2. So the whole thing is about moving them through that in a kind of a synchronized fashion, in that you can see the results. And again, you want to A/B test the messages as well, because what works for one, I suppose, one region might not work for another one. And the more kind of personalized you can kind of get, I suppose, the more better with that as well. Wow. So with this, we have, say, so here, say message 1, say message 2, for example. I like to always, I suppose, give kind of higher level overview and just some, I suppose, very, like, people are attracted to, I suppose, kind of short, snappy bullet points. That'll be what they're going to read. So we want to see exactly what that does.
Isn't it? Yeah, this is a little big for LinkedIn, though. I would imagine. Right?
Yeah. So what we said at the top of this, what we've done is that I can actually give people access to. We have other messaging scripts as well, but the whole idea behind this is that we want to kind of give, I suppose, ideas in terms of what they can use. Like we want it to be a little more conversational and not as long. But I suppose we purposely make these long. We kind of, I think I said that above, is that we purposely make them a little bit long to give you a bit of idea and to help you kind of script your own.
And edit it and make it kind of shorter or whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And with some of them we've done a bit. Some of them are a little bit shorter, I think, especially in. Let me see. Yeah, so you want to make it a little bit shorter, a bit more conversational, and very, very snappy and to the point. And that's it about LinkedIn. And then make sure that you have, I suppose, a good kind of an inbound strategy in place. So one of the I suppose the problems and something that people come up against is that trying to, I suppose, structure an inbound strategy to match an outbound strategy. And usually what we advise people to do, like we've been focused on this with some of our clients over the past couple of weeks because it's coming into wedding season. And even though a lot of venues aren't, I suppose, open and all, a lot of venues will be in a position to do shoots because I suppose the weather is better and their venues will appear nicer. So what we'll do is that we'll tell them to focus on, say, an outbound strategy, say an automation, and then have an inbound strategy in terms of their posting strategy to make sure that there's a good mix of those to get out to get that message out there and to get those leads to start coming in. So let's see what else we have actually in here so we can show you. So we also have, say, so also within this, so we have some. So we have some scripts for, say, hospitality and real estate, just some other, I suppose, information in this. But again, these are made purposely long so people can kind of recraft them to make their own. So I suppose I put a disclaimer here, said that they are longer than necessary, just to give you multiple ideas and angles to choose from. Because again, I suppose we try and cater to, I suppose, every platform as well. And other platforms have different features, and a lot of times, exactly, the features are going to be some things that you can use as your main selling point. So you want to actually put that in there. So these are, I suppose, we have, say, a shorter version. This is for email, for example, but people can have a look through these and see exactly, I suppose, what they want to take out of it, and if they can kind of, I suppose, craft their own from that then.
Awesome. All right. I think that's, I mean, I think we had one question, I think, because this is a lot of information. So let me do this thing. There you go. All right. So if people want all of that, my main man Thomas has made it available. You just have to go, and I've seen some people already sign up. About 20, 25 people have signed up. So go to this link. I wish there was an easier way to share links, but I guess not.
We can put it in a chat afterwards anyway, could we?
Yeah, we can put in the chat afterwards. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, so go there, sign up, and all of the stuff that Thomas has showed you, he is happy to give it for free, because, like I said, his focus is on a larger kind of sales accelerator, is what he calls it. And I think he works very closely with his students. And you're a team of what, 3 right now?
What's that?
You're a team of 3.
No, what, sorry?
You're a team of 3 people?
5. We have 5 on our team at the moment.
5. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we have most people probably know Ashley. Ashley is very active in all the Facebook groups. She's a great asset to us. She works in the virtual tour industry, so it's great to be able to have somebody who deals with a lot of our clients that has a good understanding of that. And then we have, say, a program manager, we have another sales representative, and we have, say, a lead web developer then as well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, again, if anybody has any questions specific to their, or someone's asking this, it seems that I have access to the old platform. I do not find all of that content. I think the old platform is the one that you had. I think I remember, Thomas, you saying that you have moved your platform to a new platform, but I think
yeah. So whoever that is, maybe reach out to me afterwards, and I'll set up. You probably have we can set up the login for you if you don't have access to it. Yeah.
Another question is this. I don't know if this is necessarily a sales question, but how do you link an e-commerce product detail page to a Google Street View tour page? You can't, and that's the reason why people prefer virtual tours. I think this is this again goes into our let's shit on the big companies part of our conversation that we regularly do on your group. So I think Google Street View, you can't really customize anything. It's mostly like Tomas said, it's an added value, and sometimes very important value depending on what kind of business you are. And Google kind of shows you, but there's no customization that you can do. You also don't own the content. As soon as you upload it to Google owns the content. So you got to be careful about that also. So I think that's all right. So let's see if there are some more questions. This is the problem with streaming into multiple groups. Sometimes you get the question, sometimes you don't.
It happens with StreamYard as well. I just find that you come offline and there's about 20 questions you haven't answered.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so before we wrap it up, because I think we're kind of nearing 1 hour, if people want to know more about, so it says your group. Yeah. So what's the name of your group? Where can people go? Where can people find out more about what you do?
Yeah. So our group is the Virtual Tour Sales Accelerator. We're on Facebook as well. We have about 2,500 members now in it, but a lot of the stuff we do post, I suppose, regular content in terms of sales and marketing strategies, and that's kind of our focus. We don't kind of keep it as open as other groups. We kind of keep it very central to that message and helping people grow their business. So people can go there to find out more information. And if you have any information about our program, you can reach out to us. You'll find that
slower, Thomas, slower. So I basically before the conversation, I said, Tomas, you got to speak slower. People don't understand your accent. So I think there is one comment. Please speak slower.
Yeah.
So also, our main man Mick is online, so he says hi to both.
Hey, Mick.
Hey, Mick. Yeah. So do your sales pitch, Tomas, but slower.
Okay, yeah. So my big thick Irish accent has been the biggest problem in my business. I usually have to speak at different rates. Yeah, so it's still haven't mastered it yet, even a year down the line. So we have a Facebook group, Virtual Tour Sales Accelerator. We have about 2,500 members at the moment, but our group is very much heavily focused towards the sales and marketing side of running a virtual experience business and building solutions around that. So we're very focused on, I suppose, transforming people from, say, photographers to, say, solutions-orientated providers. And that's kind of the content we post. We don't keep it as open in other groups. We try and keep it very kind of central to that message and try and have the conversations based around, I suppose, the sales and marketing side of running a business. So if you want any information on what we do, Ashley will probably be the one that'll catch you the minute you come into the group. that's what she does. But you probably won't find, we don't heavily promote our program in the group, to be honest. So it's not, we don't have you won't find anything in the group about, I suppose, what we do or our program. But that's where Ashley and some of the other people come in. We've got a lot of free resources in there besides what we've already put in the program. So if you need any other information on our program or any of the resources, just get in touch with myself or Ashley Gomez, and they're probably the best two people to reach out to.
All right. Philip says, speak in French.
I know a little bit of German, no French.
No French. And Chris is saying he's gotten to this late. Is there a recording? Yes, this will be recorded, and this will be on, it'll be on YouTube.
Paid access.
Paid? No, man. I mean, someday our content will be so important that people will pay to watch it, but not, we're not Joe Rogan yet. Not yet. I think this is pretty much it, Thomas. Is there something that you would want to give kind of like an inspirational or an aspirational aspect of sales? Because a lot of people, including myself, we find sales to be a little bit dirty. This is why I'm very hesitant to even pitch our company. And a lot of people complain, saying that you do all of this work, but you don't pitch your company at all, even though it says TeliportMe on the top. So how does one kind of make that transition? I think psychologically is like, okay, all right, I got to push it down the throat, and what I'm providing is value enough that I can actually get paid for it. And before you go to that answer, Chris Barron wants the link. It is just youtube.com/teleportme, and that's it. Just search for TeliportMe. And if you don't know what TeliportMe is, it's a virtual tour software product.
Pitch again.
So Tomas, just go ahead with just kind of like how to get into a mindset where you need to think that your shit is gold, right? And how do you kind of put it forward to your customers?
Yeah. Well, first of all, make your shit gold. Like put a heavy emphasis on trying to build a results orientated solution and trying to step out of that photographer solution. Like it is a photography solution at heart, but the companies that would pay the big money were the ones that want results using this, because that's the common problem, is that I think the majority of people in this industry, whether they know it or not, have a photographer's mindset when it comes to selling these services, as opposed to a sales and marketing solution. Like everybody who provides a service to, say, real estate or a hotel or, say, bar restaurant, you're providing a sales and marketing solution. So try and have an agency approach in that. Have a look at, I suppose, what agencies do when they're doing the selling. But one of the biggest mind shifts for me came for when I thought I knew how to sell, and when my company ended up being taken over by another company, they had a really old school sales guy who was the owner of the company, and he came in to give us a sales training, and he quickly told me that I was doing it all wrong, and that the point of first of all, you're not trying to sell your solution, you're just trying to sell a meeting or a demo. And when I switched my mindset from, I suppose, what do we need to do to get people on a call or to get them to actually look at something, it became a little bit different than trying to actually sell my service at the beginning. And that is one of the biggest things that kind of, I suppose, switched my mindset, was that I know I had something of value to offer them. I'm not trying to sell it to you, I just want to show you. I think this is going to be something different than what you've seen. So think how we can make it different first of all. Like if you're offering the same thing. So one of the biggest things that you and me see and everybody else in all the Facebook groups is that a lot of the people that have been around for years doing this complain about new competition and people coming into their market and that they're undercutting the prices. But my question would be, like, if you're a company that can be undercutting prices, you're providing the same solution, but you're just charging more. Try and charge a solution that's not the same as everybody else, and see what you have to do in order to be able to do that. And a lot of times it comes down to, I suppose, the delivery and, I suppose, the way you can actually get results for your clients and implement the content better than anybody else. And that's a big focus. And if you master that, sales will become the easy part.
Got it. So I think that was really, really good. I think my biggest takeaway, even though I've been doing sales probably before you, because I think you're much younger than me.
Yeah. Just turned 30.
Just in 30, right. And so it was to basically sell them the next step, which is either a call or something more than, okay, I want to sell you this, but more like I want to understand your problem. I want to hear your problem so that I can see if there is a solution that exists in the virtual tour space. I think that probably is like a good takeaway when you're doing kind of sales, right? I mean,
yeah, and also within the mini course that people have access to, there is a section in each one of those that's called the client questionnaire. And the client questionnaire was a I suppose approach that we adopted when we didn't know how to sell to other industries. We looked at their pain points that were common, and then we knew exactly what questions to ask to probe at those pain points. We knew exactly how we were going to apply our solutions to those pain points, but we wanted them to tell us that. And we wanted them to tell us exactly, I suppose, how they were performing in the areas that we knew that we could apply our services to. So that's a very good thing. So the client questionnaire comes after the meeting is set. It's a way that you can actually, I suppose, find out exactly the information that you need from them. So when it comes to the conversation, that it looks like that you're able to actually, I suppose, align your services with the direction that they want to go in, or either align it so it solves the problems that they're currently having. And that's a very important thing that a lot of people don't do as well, as they're not prepared enough when it comes to the actual presentation or demo itself. And if you can do that, you're going to be one step closer to a sale, and more so, your perceived value is going to be at a much, much higher level. If you go into the conversation, if you go into the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems is when it comes to sales presentations is that it's our instinct, and it was mine for a long time, is to reach for the iPad and show them the demo, show them the virtual tour. But that shouldn't be the starting point, because if you do that, you're going straight to the punchline, which is how much is it? And you don't want that to be the starting point of the conversation. You want it to be exactly, I suppose, you want it to be what the tour is going to do for them. You know exactly, I suppose, maybe how they're performing or underperforming, and how the tour can be applied to those areas to enhance it or improve some certain areas. And then your perceived value will be at a much higher level. When it comes to the price, it'll be you want to end the conversation in a way is that they're either wondering how are they going to pay for it, or they're scratching their head wondering, it's like, why aren't I doing this? And if I don't do this, my competitor's going to do this, and they're going to get the edge. And that's what you want to kind of bring it to.
Got it. All right, so Thomas, I'm going to give you the most impossible task, is to sell what teleportme.com to the listeners. I know you don't know anything. I think you know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So if you were me, which is your virtual tour company, I think our product is great. You know, we have a lot of thousands of customers that use our product. But obviously there's feature parity and competition everywhere. How would you say that let's take, for example, when I'm pitching to, or I'm doing the live interview, like what should be kind of my message? I know I'm putting you on the spot. You can. Totally.
That's good. Well, if I was selling TeliportMe, what I'd probably be focusing on would be, I suppose, the capabilities of your platform that other platforms don't have. So a lot of times you focus on the main features. So TeliportMe, I suppose, the high quality resolution that any other platform is going to put people who use TeliportMe in a position to use that content for years to come. Whereas other platforms, if they're producing lower quality content, I know Mick on this call can probably attest to that because he uses that, is that you're going to be in a position where you can use the content. Other platforms, you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to, either the content will be rendered useless in years to come or won't be able to be used. Another thing is when it comes to virtual tours, the next logical step in, I suppose, virtual tours is going to be how it hooks up to other systems, how it actually feeds into. So when we've been talking now about, say, how virtual tours can be used as a sales and marketing solution. But for it to be used as a sales and marketing solution, there has to be some next logical step in the virtual tours and in the customer's journey. At the moment, it links out to other areas, but really you want that to be able to hook up to other systems. And I know I've been doing a lot of work in this area, and that's my focus, and I know that you've been doing a lot of work in that area, but the next logical step is like APIs and how we can hook up to other systems and bring everything in under one umbrella. And that's going to be a very, very important aspect, especially in the sales and marketing space, which is where most of the virtual tours are being produced on a daily basis. And that's where I see the biggest benefit. So whoever's on this call, get on teleport me before they
yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we are focused on. Unfortunately for us right now, our enterprise customers use our APIs a lot, and so we are trying to figure out what is the best way to get the APIs out, but also not devalue the the API, because because a lot of people don't need APIs, so like giving it for a cheaper price. So that's kind of in our end.
And especially when we're talking about, like, I think where APIs will become very, very important is for larger organizations where they can plug into their sales processes, where the virtual tour becomes an important part of the customer's journey. Because at the moment, it is important in some aspects, but it's not part of the actual process. It's not part of their system. It's an add-on. It's an enhancement to some areas to maybe draw them in more leads or have a more kind of, I suppose, efficient communication process. But it doesn't plug in exactly. It can't really take leads and put it into their system and move them to the next stage of the sales process, which is what a sales and marketing solution should do at heart. And that's where, I suppose, that's where I'm interested and excited to see, I suppose, where that's going to go over the next while.
It's going to go, man. It's going to be great. Pavel also talked about the speed. Our speed is also very important, fastest to download. All right, I'm not going to pitch TeliportMe again. Thanks a lot, everybody, for first of all, thanks, Tomas, for coming and providing all these free resources. I hope people sign up. Even if they don't, they can go and join your group, Virtual Tour Accelerator. Your group is very helpful. I have myself been there a couple of times, and they've been very, very. They understand what they're talking about. And the other thing is, that's it, man. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna push you out for now. I'm gonna put it up, and then I'm gonna join you again. And all right.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I think this is the sort of the end of our sales conversation. I think it was very, very helpful for me also. I mean, I've done sales a lot, but just understanding some of the tools Tomas uses, and I would definitely recommend people to go sign up. And we're not going to spam you. All I'm going to do is just send the link to your email, and you should have access to all the free content. I think he has scripts for different industries that you can use, and these are things that I think would be very, very useful for anybody to start automating their sales process and make a lot of money. With that, I'm gonna say bye to everybody. Thanks a lot for your time. And if you missed this interview, it is going to be on youtube.com/teleportme, where you can go and see it. It's also on Facebook somewhere. It's usually on the event page, but Facebook does not make it very easy to find it. YouTube, you can go and check it out. And if you have any questions about TeliportMe, the product, or if you have any questions that you want to ask me directly, find me on Facebook and we can talk. All right, bye for now.